Hi, and welcome to this live reading from The Way to Storey by L.B. Ann, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1. Lou, grab the tackle box! Coming, Gramps! I ran through the house looking for my gray sneakers and found them behind the front door. The bottom of the left one was so worn I poked at it and my finger went through. Lou! Putting my shoes on! I yelled as I hurried and tied the laces. Barefoot was the way for me, and I'd gotten splinters from our rickety dock, and Gramps' eyes weren't as keen as they used to be. No spending the evening limping around for me, walking on one toe until Gramps found a magnifying glass. Lou! I'm right here, I said as I ran up behind him and placed the rusted box at his feet. It looked as old as Gramps. Maybe as old as his father. But it held his most special fishing lures, and I used to love to play with them. They were so colorful. Blues, greens, reds, and oranges. I guess that's why the fish liked them so much. I got the hook of one of those stuck in my foot once, too. After that, Gramps always slapped my hand if I reached for one. There were hooks, lead weights, fishing line, and a knife in the box, too. On the bottom were a few bandages and a tiny bottle of bug spray. Gramps glanced at me. No comb today, Lou? I reached up to scratch my scalp, but even with my skinny fingers, I couldn't quite get them through my hair and gave up. I couldn't find it. And your clothes? What's wrong with my clothes? Why is that child dressed like that? Ma Pooh yelled from across the field. I held out my sleep shirt on the sides and spun around. Lord, if you don't get inside and put on some clothes, Luella. I looked up at Gramps. He motioned with his head toward the house. Get to it. I took off like a rocket, ran up onto our porch and through the front door and out the back, grabbing shorts and a t-shirt off the line. I was in a hurry. Gramps might set out on our John boat without me. I dressed in the kitchen and kicked my sleep shirt out the back door. Gramps usually made sandwiches to take out with us, but there weren't any crumbs on the counters. The bread box wasn't open with the loaf sitting out either. I looked to the right without turning my head. He didn't think I saw him. Before the back screen door closed, he came in. Here he comes. He's getting closer. Get ready. My right arm shot out to the side and I caught him. I never doubted that I could. He rested in my palm as I walked outside. They never put up a fight. You know you can't come inside. Don't do it again. Gramps won't be as nice as I am. He'll come for you with a shoe. Then I whispered to it. Go over to Ma Pooh's. When she turns the porch light on at night, you'll see the way. When she opens the door, fly in. Got it? It was going to be so funny to hear her scream clear across the field. I don't do bugs, she'd always said when she called us over just to remove a daddy longlegs. But stay away from here, I said and set the palmetto bug on the ground. Go! Roaches don't belong inside. If Gramps had known I'd done that, he would have washed me clean with bleach. So no matter how proud I was of how fast I moved, I decided not to tell him. I rubbed my hand over my shorts, went back inside, grabbed 2 apples, and ran out the front door. Guess who was still out there? Much better, Ma Pooh yelled. Come over here so I can do something to that head. Maybe later, I yelled back. I've got something for you, too. Tadpoles? I asked, ready to charge over to retrieve my gift. Why on earth would I have tadpoles? Guess again. I couldn't. I only wanted tadpoles. Glitter! Thank you, Ma Pooh. She wasn't supposed to mention that in front of Gramps. It was the last thing I needed for the birthday gift I was making for him. Gramps jumped down from the dock to the bank alongside it. After he loaded our boat, I hopped in. He pushed it out with ease. I'm only 11. I don't think I weigh too much. I was excited about the day's catch. We usually came home with about 5 fish. Good eatin', Gramps would say as he held up a huge bass. But the best part of going fishing was listening to Gramps' stories while we sat in the middle of the lake watching the waves as we waited on that first tug of the line. I've lived with Gramps my whole life. I don't remember much about my parents or the accident that took them from me. Gramps said when the police found me, I was strapped in the back in my car seat, looking up at them just as bright as you would please, without a care in the world. But what I do remember is a voice. It told me everything was going to be okay. I've mentioned it to Gramps before. Great day, he said as he stared at me, his way of saying, you don't say, or oh my goodness, wow, or I can't believe it. That's what makes our kind special. Our kind? And just like that, he was off to his truck. He only answered the questions he wanted to answer when he wanted to answer them. I was used to it. but Gramps worried a lot. I noticed it more as I got older. "You're going to live forever, Gramps," I told him. He glanced up at me and then back at the little white box of worms and picked one up. It wiggled and curled. I bet it knew it was about to be pierced with a hook and thrown into a liquid abyss until a creature snuck up on it and ate it. I always imagined those type of things. The three of us, you, me, and Ma Poo, forever. "You, Ma Poo, and I think is right," he replied, but he didn't deny it. Ma Poo was our only neighbor. She lived in the double-wide trailer alongside our land. She fussed over me and always worried about Gramps. We shared meals in Gramps' truck. It was old and rusty, and we argued about the color. Gramps said it was gray, while Ma Poo and I insisted it was blue. "Men are colorblind," she whispered while Gramps' back was turned. Gramps cast out his line and set down his rod, looking out over the lake, and breathed in deeply. "This is good. This is good," he said while slightly nodding. The lake was his favorite place, too. He pulled his straw hat down over his forehead. He'd once had a head full of curls, a curly afro. I'd seen it in photos. Now he brushed it with a part on the side and it laid flat. I handed him an apple. "Gramps, tell me where we're from again." "You mean Storey?" "Yeah, tell me about it." "I've told you all I know." "No, you haven't." "You know the important stuff." "Test me." I sat up. I'd been leaning back on a cushion, scanning the shore for gators. "I'm ready." "How do you get to Storey?" he asked. "Follow the birds." "That's right. Always follow the birds. When something seems wrong or off, they feel it first. Follow them." 1 point for Luella, 0 for Gramps. "I'm not being tested. You are. Where do you keep your feelings?" I tapped my striped t-shirt over my chest. "Right here." "That's right, or things will happen." "That's 2 for me. You need to try and trip me up, Gramps." "Where is our secret place?" "In the field behind our house." "Gramps, that has nothing to do with Storey." "Okay, you caught me, so you win." "Yay!" I exclaimed in triumph. Storey is a magical place where the people dress in gold and jewels, and they're tall, taller than anyone you ever saw. "Why aren't you tall?" "It's the gravity. We were born here. It keeps us smaller." I chuckled. "I don't believe it. That doesn't make any sense. Why aren't there more people from Storey?" "Because they all went back. Someone had to stay behind and ensure the gate closed." "And that's you." "That was our family," he said, and took a bite of his apple. I took a bite of mine, too. "Gramps, the line!" He grabbed his pole with patience and grace. "Easy, easy," I told him. Shush, I know what I'm doing." "I bet it's a bluegill." "More likely a bass." "Whoa! What's wrong?" "It's a biggin," Gramps said. I stood beside him. "You're letting him run out too far. Reel him in." "Hush, Lou. I've got this. It needs to drag a little." "Gramps, look!" "Grab it!" I picked up the other rod. "Now do just like I've taught you." "I'll bring him in, I promise." We were almost back to back, pulling and reeling. "Mine's a big one too, Gramps." "Can you handle him?" "I've got it." I tucked my lips in, planted my feet, and slightly bent my knees as Gramps reeled in his bass. "Let me see." "No, keep your eyes on yours." "I bet it's a turtle, a snapper." Gramps reached over the side of the boat. "Well, looky there," he said, and pulled up my catch with his gloved hand. Great day. My eyes were like saucers. I was downright proud. "You were right. It is a big one. Bigger'n mine. This will make for some good eating tonight." "Let's go back and show Ma Poo." "Not yet. Let's see if we can get a couple more for our fry." And we did get more. 4, to be exact. Gramps rowed us to the shore, pulled the boat in, and I hopped out onto the sand. I tried to lug the bucket of fish, but it was too heavy. "Give me that. You're splashing water everywhere. You get the rods." "Ma Poo!" I called. I held out the poo part real long and high-pitched. That's what always got her attention. But she didn't come out with a "stop that hollering." "Where is she?" "I don't know," said Gramps, glancing toward her trailer. "We'll hear from her soon enough once she gets a whiff of that fish frying." "Yep, that usually does it, just like when I smell her cobbler." I waited for her, even sat on the rocking chair after dinner looking over at her place. I started to go over there, but Gramps stopped me. "Everyone needs space every now and again." I understood that, but still, Ma Poo never showed up. Space was one thing. Fish night was different.